A struggling mother walks into a billionaire's boardroom, in handcuffs, accused of stealing £3 million. 24 hours ago, he loved her. Now he wants her destroyed. But she's got 4 hours and one USB drive to prove her innocence. How did she get here? It started with a 0 tip and a note that said, "Prove you'll do whatever it takes." What happened next will restore your faith in justice, love, and the power of never giving up. This is Emma's story. And I promise you, you've never heard anything like it. Welcome to Voice of Granny. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and comment your view on the story and where you're watching from. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Emma. Emma wasn't anyone special, at least that's what she thought. She was just a waitress in London, working at a fancy restaurant called the Golden Spoon. Every night, she would put on her black uniform, tie her hair back tight, and smile at people who never really saw her. Emma had a daughter. Her name was Lily, and she was only 6 years old. Lily was born with a lung condition that made it hard for her to breathe. Some days were good, but some days, Emma would hold her daughter and count each breath like it was a precious gift. The medicine Lily needed wasn't cheap. The doctor said there was a new treatment, something that could help Lily live a normal life, maybe even run and play like other children. But it cost money. A lot of money. Money Emma didn't have. So every night Emma worked. She worked until her feet felt like they were on fire. She worked until her smile felt painted on her face. She worked because that's what mothers do. They keep going even when everything hurts. This particular Tuesday night started like any other. The restaurant was packed with wealthy people eating expensive food. Emma moved between the tables, pouring wine, bringing bread, clearing plates. She was invisible to most of them. Just part of the furniture. Just the help. Then he walked in. His name was Alexander Hunt, though Emma didn't know that yet. Everyone in London knew who Alexander Hunt was. He owned the biggest fashion empire in Europe. His clothes were in every shop window, worn by every celebrity. People said he was brilliant. They also said he was cold, that he had ice water in his veins instead of blood. The manager, Mr. Peterson, rushed over to Emma. "Table 12, he hissed. "That's Alexander Hunt. Don't mess this up." Emma looked at the corner table where the man sat. He was handsome in a sharp, dangerous way. Everything about him screamed money and power. Emma's heart sank. Rich men like him were usually the worst to serve. They treated you like you were nothing. She walked over, her notepad ready. "Good evening, sir. Welcome to the Golden Spoon. Can I start you with something to drink?" He didn't look up from his phone. "Water. Room temperature. With lemon. But I want the lemon peeled. No rind. I can taste the bitterness." Emma blinked. She had served hundreds of customers, but this was a first. "Of course, sir. I'll be right back." In the kitchen, she carefully peeled the lemon, removing every bit of the yellow skin until only the flesh remained. Her hands were shaking slightly. She needed good tips tonight. Lily's prescription was due tomorrow, and she was 40 pounds short. When she brought the water back, Alexander examined it like it was a scientific experiment. He took a sip, then set it down. "Acceptable." That was it. No thank you. No smile. Just acceptable. "Are you ready to order?" Emma asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "I want the lamb. But tell the chef to cook it 3 minutes longer than usual. Last time I was here, it was too pink. And I want the vegetables on a separate plate. I don't like when the juices mix." Emma wrote it all down, though her heart was racing. The chef was going to be furious. Chef Henri didn't like people changing his recipes. But what choice did she have? When she brought the order to the kitchen, Chef Henri exploded. "Who does this man think he is? 3 minutes longer? That will ruin the meat. It will be like leather." "Please," Emma begged. "He's Alexander Hunt. If we don't do it, he'll complain, and Mr. Peterson will blame me." Chef Henri cursed in French, but did as she asked. 20 minutes later, Emma brought out the food. Her hands were steady, but her stomach was in knots. She placed the plate in front of Alexander. "Your lamb, sir. Cooked 3 extra minutes, vegetables on the side." He cut into the meat. Chewed slowly. Put down his fork. "It's fine," he said flatly. "Fine. Not good. Not delicious. Just fine." Emma stood there for a moment. "Is there anything else I can get you?" Then Alexander did something unexpected. He looked up at her. Really looked at her. His eyes were gray like storm clouds. "Tell me something," he said. "Why are you here?" Emma was confused. I work here, sir." "No," he said. "I mean, why are you really here? You look exhausted. Your shoes are worn out. You're working a Tuesday night shift, which means you probably need the money desperately. So why? What's the story? Emma felt tears prick her eyes. She shouldn't answer. Customers didn't want to hear about your problems. But something about the way he asked, like he genuinely wanted to know, made the words spill out. I have a daughter, she said quietly. She's sick. She needs medicine I can't afford. So I work here because the tips are usually good. Because I need every pound I can get to keep her alive. The moment the words left her mouth, Emma regretted them. She sounded pathetic, like she was begging. Alexander stared at her for a long moment. Then he said something that felt like a slap. So you're relying on the kindness of strangers? That's a terrible strategy. In business, in life, relying on luck and pity means you've already lost. Emma felt her face burn with shame and anger. I'm not relying on luck, sir. I'm working. 2 jobs. I barely sleep. I do everything I can. Yet here you are, he said coldly, still struggling. Maybe you're working hard at the wrong things. Emma wanted to throw the water in his face. Instead, she said, will there be anything else? No, Alexander said. Bring me the bill. When Emma returned with the bill, Alexander was gone. He had left cash on the table. She picked up the receipt folder with trembling hands. The bill was £180. She looked at the tip line. 0. He had drawn a thick black line through it and written a giant 0. Emma stood there, staring at that 0, and felt something break inside her. After everything, after the lemon rind, after the special cooking, after bearing her soul about her sick daughter, he left nothing. The other waitresses were watching. She could feel their pity, their judgment. £0 meant no medicine tomorrow. £0 meant watching Lily struggle to breathe another night. Emma angrily grabbed his plate to clear the table. That's when something fell out from underneath. A small white card. She picked it up with shaking hands. It wasn't money. It was a note, written in elegant handwriting. Emma, you say you'll do whatever it takes. Prove it. Come to the Westbrook Textile Factory, Warehouse 5, midnight tonight. Come alone. H. Emma read it 3 times. This was insane. Meeting a strange billionaire at a warehouse at midnight? It sounded like the beginning of a horror movie. But then she thought of Lily, asleep at the babysitter's, her little chest rising and falling with difficulty. She thought of that 0 on the receipt. She thought of what Alexander had said. Maybe you're working hard at the wrong things. Emma folded the note and put it in her pocket. She had a choice to make. The factory district at midnight was not a place for a woman alone. Emma knew this as she stepped off the bus, pulling her thin coat tighter against the cold wind. The streetlights here were broken or flickering. Shadows moved in ways that made her heart race. She had left work at 11, not even stopping to change out of her uniform. The other waitresses had asked where she was going in such a hurry, but Emma hadn't answered. How could she explain? She barely understood it herself. Warehouse 5 was at the end of a row of identical gray buildings. A single light burned above a metal door. Parked next to it was a sleek black car, the kind that cost more than Emma would make in 5 years. She checked her phone. 11:58, 2 minutes early. Emma thought about Lily. She had called the babysitter before leaving. How is she? Emma had asked. Sleeping, Mrs. Davies had said. But her breathing sounds rough tonight, love. You might want to call the doctor tomorrow. Tomorrow. Tomorrow Emma would have no medicine and no money to buy more. That's why she was here, standing in front of a warehouse in the middle of the night, about to walk into a situation that could be dangerous, could be stupid, could be the biggest mistake of her life. Or it could be the answer to everything. Emma took a deep breath and pushed open the door. Inside, the warehouse was massive and empty. Her footsteps echoed on the concrete floor. In the center, under a hanging industrial light, was a simple table with 2 chairs. Alexander Hunt sat in one of them, reading papers. He had taken off his suit jacket. His sleeves were rolled up, and for the first time, he looked almost human. You're early, he said without looking up. That's good. It shows you're serious. Emma walked toward him, her legs feeling like jelly. Why am I here, Mr. Hunt? Now he looked up. In this harsh light, she could see he was younger than she thought, maybe 35. There were tired lines around his eyes. Sit, he said, gesturing to the other chair. Emma sat. Alexander put down his papers and leaned forward. I tested you tonight at the restaurant. The ridiculous requests, the rude behavior, the personal questions. Most people would have cursed me out or cried or given up. You did none of those things. You executed every task perfectly. even though you were angry. Even though I was cruel. That doesn't explain why I'm here, Emma said, finding her voice. Alexander reached into a briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. He dropped it on the table between them. This is the production report for my fashion company for the last 6 months. We're losing money. A lot of it. My accountants say it's normal market fluctuation. My managers say it's increased competition. I think they're all either incompetent or lying to me. He opened the folder. Pages of numbers, charts, and data filled Emma's vision. You noticed a lemon rind in a dark restaurant. You noticed I was left-handed and adjusted where you placed my glass. You see details other people miss. My expensive university-educated executives are too busy looking at the big picture to see what's broken in front of them. Emma stared at the papers, confused. You want me to look at your company reports? Mr. Hunt, I didn't finish university. I barely passed my A-levels. I can't. Yes, you can, he interrupted. You manage a household budget on poverty wages. You track medication schedules, work schedules, bus schedules. You calculate tips in your head while carrying 4 plates. Your brain is trained for patterns and details. He checked his watch. You have 1 hour. If you find nothing, I'll pay for your cab home, and we'll never speak again. If you find the problem, he pulled out a checkbook. I'll write a check tonight for your daughter's treatment. All of it. Emma's heart stopped. All of it? But that's thousands of pounds. 15,000, according to my research, Alexander said calmly. I looked into your situation after you left the restaurant. Lily Miller, age 6, chronic pulmonary condition. The new treatment course costs exactly 15,000 pounds. Am I correct? Emma couldn't breathe. He had investigated her. It should have felt creepy, invasive. Instead, it felt like someone finally seeing her. Why? She whispered. Why would you do this? Because I'm surrounded by people who went to Oxford and Cambridge, who wear expensive suits and use big words. But they can't spot a simple problem that's costing me millions. Maybe what I need isn't another degree on the wall. Maybe I need someone who knows what it's like to count every penny, to notice when something doesn't add up because you can't afford for anything to go wrong. He slid the papers toward her. 1 hour. Starting now. Emma looked at the papers. They were intimidating, full of industry terms she didn't understand. Production runs, fabric costs, shipping manifests, retail margins. But then she started reading. Really reading. And slowly, something began to click. She saw that Factory 7 reported using 5,000 meters of silk for a production run of dresses. But Factory 3, making the same dresses, only used 4,200 meters. The difference was small, only about 15%, but it was consistent. She flipped through more reports. Factory 7 always used more material than the other factories. Always. She grabbed a calculator from the table and started punching numbers. If Factory 7 was wasting or stealing 15% of materials across all productions, and they handled about 40% of the company's manufacturing. Factory 7, Emma said suddenly. Someone at Factory 7 is stealing from you. Alexander stopped writing. Explain. Emma's hands were shaking as she showed him the numbers. Look at these production reports. Factory 7 always reports using more raw materials than the other factories for the same items. Always 10 to 15% more. That's not random. That's not waste. Someone is taking the extra fabric, the extra thread, the extra materials, and either selling it or reporting false numbers to cover theft. She pointed to another column. And look here. The manager who signs off on these reports? He's the same person who approves the inventory orders. That means he controls both what comes in and what gets reported as used. No one is checking his numbers. Alexander stared at the reports. He traced the pattern with his finger. His jaw tightened. Thomas, he said quietly. Thomas Whitmore. My wife's brother. I gave him that factory as a wedding gift 5 years ago. The room went silent. Emma had just accused the billionaire's brother-in-law of theft. I could be wrong, she said quickly. I'm just a waitress. I don't know. You're not wrong, Alexander said, standing up. He walked around the table. Emma tensed, unsure what he would do. He picked up the checkbook and wrote quickly. Then he tore out the check and held it out to her. Emma took it with trembling hands. Pay to Emma Miller. Amount, 15,000 pounds. She stared at it. This piece of paper was Lily's life. This was breathing without pain. This was running in the park. This was a future. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Mr. Hunt, I thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet, Alexander said. Because I have a proposition for you, Emma. Emma's life changed overnight, and I mean that literally. 2 days after the warehouse meeting, a car picked her up from her tiny flat. Not just any car, actual limousine. Her neighbors stared through their curtains as Emma, still in shock, climbed into the back seat with Lily holding her hand tight. "Mummy, are we in trouble?" Lily whispered, her big eyes wide. "No, sweetheart," Emma said, though she wasn't entirely sure herself. "We're just going somewhere new." The car drove for an hour, leaving the cramped streets of their neighborhood behind, passing through areas Emma had only seen in magazines. Finally, they arrived at a massive estate outside London, all stone walls and manicured gardens. Alexander's offer had been simple but terrifying: become his personal assistant. The salary was £100,000 a year. Lily would have private health care, the best doctors in the country. They would live in the guest house on his estate so Emma could be available whenever he needed her. But there was a catch. Emma's real job wasn't to answer phones or schedule meetings. Her job was to watch, to listen, to find the problems that everyone else missed. She was Alexander's eyes, looking at his business from the ground level, from the perspective of someone who understood what it meant when numbers didn't add up. The first week was overwhelming. Emma tried to learn everything at once: how the company worked, who was who, what each department did. Alexander's fashion empire was massive, with factories across Europe, shops in every major city, and thousands of employees. But Emma was a fast learner. She had to be. She attended meetings where executives spoke in corporate language that felt like a foreign tongue. But Emma translated it in her head. When they said optimizing resource allocation, she heard cutting corners. When they said acceptable shrinkage, she heard theft that we're ignoring. And everywhere she went, she noticed things. The quality control manager, who always left meetings early on Thursdays. The shipping coordinator, who never made eye contact. The accountant who wore watches that cost more than his salary. But the biggest problem wasn't in the factories or the warehouses. It was standing right next to Alexander. Her name was Victoria Cross, and she was Alexander's girlfriend. She was beautiful like a fashion model, all sharp cheekbones and designer clothes. She had been Alexander's partner for 3 years, and everyone expected them to get married soon. Victoria hated Emma from the moment they met. "So you're the new assistant," Victoria had said, looking Emma up and down like she was examining a stain on expensive fabric. "How quaint. Alexander, darling, where did you find her?" "A charity shop." Emma had felt her face burn, but Alexander had stepped between them. Emma saved the company £2 million by finding the theft at Factory 7. Show some respect. But respect was the last thing Victoria had in mind. Over the following weeks, Emma realized that Victoria wasn't just rude. She was dangerous. Victoria attended every board meeting, knew every executive, and had her perfectly manicured fingers in every part of the business. She was smart, connected, and ambitious. And she saw Emma as a threat. One evening, Emma was working late in Alexander's office, reviewing distribution reports. Lily was asleep in the guest house, watched by the nanny Alexander had hired. Emma still couldn't believe this was her life now. Her daughter healthy, well-fed, safe. Alexander walked in, loosening his tie. He looked exhausted. "You should go home," he said. "It's almost midnight." "Almost done," Emma replied, not looking up. "I think I found something in the supply chain numbers." Alexander sat down across from her. "Emma, can I ask you something?" She looked up. In the dim office light, he looked different. Less like the cold billionaire from the restaurant, more like a regular person carrying too much weight. "Of course. Do you ever regret it? Taking this job? Leaving your old life?" Emma thought about her old flat with its leaking ceiling. She thought about the fear that lived in her chest every time Lily coughed. She thought about that 0 on the receipt. "Every single day," she said honestly. "I'm terrified I'll mess up. That you'll realize you made a mistake hiring someone like me. That I don't belong in this world." "You don't belong in this world," Alexander said. Emma's heart sank. "That's exactly why you're valuable," he continued. "Everyone else here was born into money or married into it or climbed a ladder by stepping on people. They think the same way, talk the same way. They don't see what you see because they've never had to count pennies or make impossible choices. You bring something none of them have. You bring truth." Emma felt something flutter in her chest. Something warm and dangerous. "Alexander, Victoria wants me to fire you," he said suddenly. "She's been pushing for weeks. Says you're unqualified, that you're an embarrassment to the company." Emma stood up. Maybe she's right. Maybe I should. She's scared of you, Alexander interrupted. She sees what I see, that you're brilliant and honest and everything this company needs. And she knows that the more time I spend with you, the more I realize. He stopped himself. The air in the room felt electric. Realize what? Emma whispered. Before Alexander could answer, his phone buzzed. He looked at it, and his expression changed from soft to stone. It's the board chairman. Emergency meeting tomorrow morning. Victoria called it. Emma's stomach dropped. Why? Alexander's jaw tightened. She's making her move. The next morning, Emma was not invited to the meeting. She paced in the hallway outside the boardroom, her heart pounding. Through the glass walls, she could see Victoria standing at the head of the table, presenting something on a screen. Alexander sat at the other end, his face unreadable. Then Emma saw it. On the screen was a photo of Emma meeting someone in a coffee shop. Emma's blood ran cold. She knew that photo. She knew that meeting. Victoria was framing her. The same way Alexander had been betrayed before, it was happening again. And this time, Emma was the one who would be destroyed. They say betrayal feels like drowning. Emma finally understood what that meant as she watched through the glass walls of the boardroom, seeing her world collapse in real time. Victoria was speaking with the confidence of someone who had already won. The board members leaned forward, their faces serious. On the screen behind her were more photos. Emma meeting with a man outside a cafe, Emma on her laptop late at night, bank statements with highlighted transactions. Emma didn't need to hear the words to know what Victoria was saying. She was telling them that Emma was a spy, selling company secrets to competitors. The boardroom door opened. Alexander's assistant, a kind older woman named Patricia, stepped out. Her face was sympathetic. Emma, dear, they want you inside. Emma's legs felt like water, but she walked into that room with her head high. She had been poor, she had been desperate, she had been called worthless, but she had never been dishonest. She wouldn't start apologizing for crimes she didn't commit. All eyes turned to her. Emma, said Richard Pemberton, the board chairman, a gray-haired man with cold eyes. Thank you for joining us. We have some serious allegations to discuss. I know what she's saying, Emma said, looking directly at Victoria. And it's a lie. Victoria smiled. It was a cruel, calculated smile. Emma, please. Don't make this harder on yourself. We have evidence. She clicked to the next slide. It showed a bank transfer. £25,000 deposited into Emma's account 3 days ago. This money, Victoria said softly, like a teacher disappointed in a student, came from a shell company linked to our main competitor, Rousseau Fashion. The same week this payment appeared, confidential designs from our spring collection showed up in their preview line. The board members murmured. Emma felt the room spin. I never received that money, Emma said. Check my account. Check my actual account, not whatever fake documents she's showing you. We did check, Victoria said, turning her laptop around. There on the screen was Emma's bank account. And there, clear as day, was the £25,000 deposit. Emma's mouth went dry. That's not possible. I don't know how that got there, but I didn't. And this man, Victoria clicked to a photo of Emma meeting someone at a cafe. This is Daniel Rousseau, the head designer at our competitor. You met with him twice last month. That's my cousin, Emma shouted. Daniel Miller. He's my cousin from Manchester. He came to London to visit Lily. You can ask him. You can. How convenient, Victoria interrupted smoothly. Your cousin just happens to have the same first name as their lead designer. Emma, I understand you were desperate when Alexander found you. I understand you saw an opportunity. But corporate espionage is a crime. Emma turned to Alexander. He was sitting very still, his face like carved marble. His eyes, those gray eyes that had looked at her with warmth just last night, were empty. Alexander, Emma pleaded. You know me. You know I would never. What I know, Alexander said, and his voice was so cold it physically hurt, is that I trusted you. I brought you into my home. I gave you access to everything. And this is how you repay me. I didn't do this. Emma's voice broke. Victoria is setting me up. Can't you see? She wants me gone because you're a thief, Victoria finished. She walked over to Alexander and placed a hand on his shoulder. A possessive gesture. Acclaiming. Alexander, I know this is painful. You wanted to help her, to save her and her daughter. But some people can't be saved. Some people will always take advantage of kindness. Emma saw it then. The trap had been perfect. Victoria had planted evidence, faked documents, probably even hacked Emma's bank account. And worst of all, she had timed it perfectly. Right after Alexander was starting to have feelings for Emma, right when Victoria felt most threatened. "Security," Alexander said quietly. "Escort Ms. Miller off the premises. She has 1 hour to pack her belongings. If she returns, call the police." "No," Emma whispered. "Please. What about Lily? She's still in treatment." The doctors said. "You should have thought about your daughter before you betrayed me," Alexander said, standing up. He wouldn't look at her. "The company health insurance is terminated immediately." 2 security guards appeared at Emma's elbows. "Wait." Emma struggled against them. "Alexander, please. Just look at me. Look at me and tell me you really believe I did this." For a moment, just a moment, Alexander's mask cracked. He looked at her, and Emma saw pain there. Terrible, devastating pain. "I believed you were different," he said softly. "I thought you were the one honest person in a world of lies. But you were the best liar of all. Because you made me care." They dragged Emma from the room. She could hear Victoria's voice behind her, already moving on. "Now, regarding the restructuring plan I mentioned." An hour later, Emma stood outside the estate gates with 2 suitcases and her sleeping daughter in her arms. The security guards had been kind enough to let her wait until Lily woke from her nap before throwing them out. It was starting to rain. Emma had no money. Her salary had been direct deposit, and Victoria had probably already frozen the account. She had no home to go back to. She'd given up her flat when she moved here. She had nothing, except the truth, and the memory of Alexander's face when he said, "You made me care." Emma set down the suitcases and pulled out her phone. She had one call she could make. One person who might listen. She dialed Patricia, Alexander's assistant. "Patricia," Emma said when the woman answered. "I need you to trust me. I need you to help me prove that Victoria is lying. And we have exactly." She checked her watch. 4 hours before the board votes on her restructuring plan. 4 hours to prove it? That's impossible, dear. Emma looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully despite the rain starting to soak them both. "I've done impossible things before," Emma said. "I just need someone to believe in me one more time." There was a long pause. Then, "Tell me what you need." Patricia met Emma at a 24-hour cafe near the train station. The older woman slid into the booth across from Emma, her expression worried. "I have 20 minutes before they notice I'm gone," Patricia said. "What's your plan?" Emma pulled out a notebook. Her hands were shaking from cold and adrenaline, but her mind was crystal clear. "Victoria made one mistake. She's smart, but she's arrogant. She thinks I'm just a stupid waitress who got lucky. She thinks I can't fight back." "What's the mistake?" "The bank transfer," Emma said. "She put £25,000 in my account to make it look like a bribe. But that happened 3 days ago, right?" Patricia nodded. "So where's the money now?" Emma asked. "If I was really selling secrets, I would have moved that money immediately. Withdrawn it, transferred it, hidden it. But it's just sitting there in my account because I never knew it existed until an hour ago." Patricia's eyes widened. "Of course. A real criminal wouldn't leave evidence just sitting in their bank account." "Exactly. And the photos of me with my cousin. Victoria said I met with him twice last month. But my cousin only visited once 2 weeks ago. If there are photos from 2 different dates, they're fake or she's lying about who the person is." Emma leaned forward. "Patricia, I need you to do something risky. I need you to access Victoria's computer." "I can't. That would be." "I know. But think about it. How did Victoria get access to my bank account? How did she transfer money into it? She had to hack into it, or she had help from someone in finance. Either way, there will be a trail on her computer. Search history files something." Patricia bit her lip. "If I get caught, you'll be fired," Emma finished. "I know. I'm not asking you to do this for me. I'm asking you to do it because you know Alexander. You've worked for him for 15 years. Do you really think I betrayed him? Do you really think he should marry a woman who would frame an innocent person?" Patricia looked at Emma for a long moment. Then she stood up. "The board meeting starts in 3 hours. I'll see what I can find." While Patricia went back to the office, Emma did something equally risky. She took Lily to the only place she knew would take them without questions, her old restaurant. Mr. Peterson, the manager, looked shocked when Emma walked through the door. "Emma, I heard you were working for Alexander Hunt now. What are you doing here?" "I need a favor," Emma said. "Can you check your CCTV footage from 2 weeks ago? Thursday afternoon." "Why?" Because my life depends on it. Something in Emma's voice must have convinced him. 20 minutes later, Emma was watching grainy security footage from the cafe across the street from the restaurant. And there, clear as day, was Emma meeting with her cousin. Just once. Not twice. Emma asked Mr. Peterson to copy the footage to a USB drive. Her phone buzzed. Patricia, found something. You need to see this. Meet me at the back entrance. Emma's heart raced as she took Lily and rushed back to the Hunt estate. Patricia was waiting by the service entrance, her face pale. Emma, this is bigger than we thought. Look. She showed Emma a tablet with documents open. Victoria didn't just frame you. She's been embezzling from the company for over a year. Small amounts from dozens of accounts, all being funneled into offshore companies. The total is over £3 million. Emma stared at the documents. Why would she do this? She's already rich. Because it's not Alexander's money, Patricia said. It's her money. She's been planning to take over the company. The restructuring plan she's presenting today? It would make her CEO and push Alexander out. She's been systematically sabotaging departments, making them look inefficient, so the board would support replacing him. We need to get this to Alexander. Now. The meeting already started. Security won't let you in. Emma looked at the building. Then we'll have to make them let us in. 5 minutes later, Emma walked through the front doors of Hunt Fashion headquarters. The receptionist jumped up. Ms. Miller, you're not allowed. Call security, Emma said calmly. Tell them the woman accused of corporate espionage is here to confess. Tell them to bring her directly to the boardroom. Tell them Mr. Hunt will want to see this. The security guards arrived, ready to drag Emma out. But she spoke loudly enough for everyone in the lobby to hear. I have evidence that Victoria Cross has embezzled over £3 million from this company. You can either escort me to that meeting right now, or you can explain to Mr. Hunt why you stopped him from learning the truth. The guards looked at each other, uncertain. Emma's phone rang. It was Patricia who had gone ahead. It worked. Alexander said to bring you up. But Emma, Victoria is claiming you're here to cause a scene. You need hard evidence. I have it, Emma said. They brought her to the boardroom in handcuffs, Victoria's insistence. Emma walked in to find all eyes on her. Alexander sat at the head of the table, his face unreadable. Victoria stood beside him, smiling. Really, Emma? Victoria said sweetly. This is pathetic. Security, remove her. Wait, Alexander said. His voice was quiet, but commanded absolute attention. Let her speak. Emma's hands shook as she held up the USB drive Patricia had given her. This contains financial records showing that Victoria has been stealing from the company for over a year. The same skills she used to hack my bank account and plant fake evidence? She used them to embezzle millions. That's ridiculous, Victoria laughed. This is clearly a desperate woman. The transfers were made from your computer, Emma interrupted. Your personal laptop. The one you use at home. Patricia found the access logs. Victoria's smile faltered. And those photos of me supposedly meeting with your competitor twice? I only met with my cousin once. I have security footage from the restaurant across the street proving it. You faked the second meeting. Emma turned to Alexander. And the money in my account? It's still there. All £25,000. Because I never touched it. I never even knew it existed. A real thief would have moved it immediately. The room was silent. Richard Pemberton, the board chairman, stood up. Mr. Hunt, I think we need to examine this evidence before proceeding with the vote. I think we do, Alexander said quietly. His eyes never left Victoria's face. Victoria, would you like to explain? For a moment, Victoria's mask stayed perfect. Then slowly it cracked. You stupid little fool, Victoria hissed, her beautiful face twisting into something ugly. You think you've won? You think anyone here cares about the word of a waitress over mine? Show them the evidence, Alexander said. His voice was cold, controlled, but Emma could hear the fury underneath. Patricia connected the laptop to the boardroom screen. Financial records appeared, line after line of transfers, dates, amounts. The board members leaned forward, their expressions shifting from skepticism to shock. These transfers, Patricia explained, her voice steady despite her nervousness, were all made from Victoria's personal laptop. The IP address matches her home internet. The timing matches when she was alone in her office. And they all go to the same network of shell companies. This could be fabricated, Victoria said, but her voice had lost its confidence. Emma could have created these files. She had access to everything. Then explain this, Emma said. She pulled out her phone and played a video. It was security footage from the building's parking garage, time-stamped 3 nights ago at 2 a.m. It showed Victoria entering the building alone, going to the finance department, and leaving 20 minutes later with a briefcase. The same night, Emma continued, that the largest transfer was made. £500,000 moved from the company reserve account to one of your shell companies. You thought no one would check the physical security footage because you deleted the digital access logs. Victoria's face had gone pale. She looked around the room, searching for an ally, but found none. Even the board members she had courted were looking at her with disgust. Alexander, Victoria tried one last time, her voice softening, reaching for his arm. Darling, you know me. We've been together for 3 years. You can't possibly believe. Alexander pulled his arm away like she had burned him. I believed Emma was a thief because I've been betrayed before. I've been lied to, stolen from, used. So when you showed me evidence, I believed it because believing it was easier than admitting I was falling in love with someone I'd known for only a few weeks. The room went absolutely silent. Alexander stood up, his eyes locked on Emma's. But Emma did something you never did, Victoria. When I accused her, when I threw her out, when I took everything away, she didn't run. She didn't hide. She came back and fought for the truth. Because that's who she is. Someone who doesn't give up, even when everything is stacked against her. He turned to Victoria. Security, escort Ms. Cross out of the building. The police are waiting downstairs. I called them the moment Patricia showed me the first document. Victoria's composure finally shattered completely. You'll regret this, Alexander. All of you. I made this company what it is. Without me, you're nothing. Without you, Alexander said quietly, we're honest. The security guards took Victoria by the arms. As they led her to the door, she looked back at Emma with pure hatred. You destroyed my life. No, Emma said, her voice steady. You destroyed your own life the moment you chose greed over integrity. The door closed behind Victoria, and the room seemed to exhale collectively. Richard Pemberton cleared his throat. Well, that was unexpected. Mr. Hunt, on behalf of the board, I apologize for doubting you and for nearly making a catastrophic decision. And Ms. Miller, we owe you a significant debt of gratitude. You owe her more than gratitude, Alexander said. You owe her the respect she deserves. Emma isn't just my assistant. Effective immediately, she's the Chief Operations Officer of Hunt Fashion. She'll be reporting directly to me and will have full authority to investigate any department, any account, any person in this company. The board members murmured in surprise, but no one objected. Emma felt dizzy. Alexander, I'm not qualified. You just exposed a £3 million embezzlement scheme that our auditors, our accountants, and our board missed for over a year. You did it in 4 hours while homeless with a sick child. I'd say you're overqualified. Richard stood up. All in favor of Ms. Miller's appointment? Every hand went up. Then it's settled, Richard said. Welcome to the executive team, Ms. Miller. And Alexander, I think the board owes you an apology as well. We should have trusted your judgment. We won't make that mistake again. After the board members filed out, Emma and Alexander were alone in the conference room. The late afternoon sun streamed through the windows, making everything golden. Emma didn't know what to say. Everything had changed so fast. You came back, Alexander said softly, walking toward her. After I said those horrible things to you. After I threw you out. You came back. I had to, Emma said. Not just for me or for Lily, but because you deserved to know the truth. You deserved better than being betrayed by someone you trusted. I'm sorry, Alexander said, and his voice cracked. Emma, I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have listened. I let my past, my fear of being used, blind me to who you really are. Emma felt tears on her cheeks. You were hurt. You were protecting yourself. I understand. No, Alexander said, taking her hands. Understanding doesn't make it right. I hurt you. I threw you and your daughter out into the rain because I was too much of a coward to believe that someone could be genuinely good, genuinely honest. He pulled something from his pocket. The receipt from the restaurant. The one with the 0 tip. I kept this, he said. Do you know why I left 0 that night? Emma shook her head, unable to speak. Because I realized that tipping you would have been an insult. Tips are what you give to servants, to people providing a service. But you weren't serving me that night, Emma. You were showing me something I'd forgotten existed. Dignity. Strength. Grace under pressure. I didn't want to tip you. I wanted to know you. He stepped closer. I don't want an employee, Emma. I don't want someone who works for me. I want a partner. Someone who challenges me, who sees what I miss, who isn't afraid to burst into a boardroom and fight for what's right. Alexander, I'm in love with you, he said simply. I think I have been since the moment you told me off in that restaurant for implying you were relying on luck. You were right. You've never relied on luck. You've relied on yourself, on your strength, on your ability to keep going when anyone else would have quit. Emma laughed through her tears. You're in love with me? Alexander, I'm a waitress who got lucky. Stop, he said, placing a finger gently on her lips. You're not a waitress who got lucky. You're a brilliant woman who was never given a chance to show the world what she could do. Until now. He cupped her face in his hands. Emma Miller, will you give me a chance? A real chance? Not as my employee, not as someone I hired. As someone I want to build a life with. Emma thought about the zero on that receipt. She thought about the midnight meeting in the warehouse. She thought about every moment of doubt, every second of fear, every time she almost gave up. And she thought about standing here now, in a boardroom at the top of a skyscraper, being offered not just a job but a partnership, not just money but respect, not just survival but love. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll give you a chance. Alexander kissed her then. It wasn't a fairy tale kiss. It was real and imperfect and absolutely perfect. It was the kiss of two people who had been through fire and came out stronger. When they finally broke apart, Alexander smiled. So, about that tip I never left you. I think I owe you approximately 20% of 180 pounds. Emma laughed. You're terrible at math. That's 36 pounds. I was thinking more like 50% of everything I own. Emma's breath caught. Alexander. Too soon, he asked, but his eyes were warm, teasing. Way too soon, Emma said. But ask me again in a year. I will, he promised. I absolutely will. 1 year later. Let me tell you the end of this story, because endings matter just as much as beginnings. A year after that terrible, wonderful day, Emma stood in the boardroom again. But this time she belonged there. She wore a suit she'd chosen herself. Not too expensive, not too cheap, just right. Her hair was pulled back in a practical bun. And around her neck was a simple necklace Alexander had given her. A single diamond, small but perfect. The company had thrived under their partnership. Emma's eye for detail and Alexander's vision for the future had transformed Hunt Fashion. They'd cleaned out the corrupt managers, restructured the factories to be more ethical, and actually increased profits because when you treat people fairly, they work harder. Lily was healthy. More than healthy, she was thriving. She went to a good school now, had friends, played football on weekends. She no longer wheezed when she ran. She was just a normal, happy 8-year-old girl. And Emma? Emma had discovered something about herself. She wasn't just good at spotting problems. She was good at fixing them. She was good at leading people. She was good at building something meaningful. The waitress who had served soup to ungrateful customers was now the COO of a billion-pound company. But she hadn't forgotten where she came from. Every year, on the anniversary of that zero-tip receipt, Emma and Alexander did something special. They went to restaurants, fancy ones, and they left enormous tips for the waiters and waitresses. But more than that, they left notes. Notes that said, your value isn't determined by how people treat you. It's determined by how you treat yourself. Keep going. Keep noticing the details. Keep being excellent. Someone sees you. Because Emma remembered what it felt like to be invisible. And she never wanted anyone else to feel that way. As for Alexander, he learned that the best investments aren't in companies or properties or stocks. The best investments are in people. In giving someone a chance. In believing in potential even when it comes in unexpected packages. Victoria went to prison for embezzlement. Thomas Whitmore, the brother-in-law who had been stealing from the factories, was prosecuted as well. Justice, it turns out, doesn't care how much money you have or who your family is. And that zero on the receipt? Alexander had it framed and hung in his office. A reminder that sometimes what looks like rejection is actually an invitation. An invitation to prove yourself, to fight for what matters, to become more than anyone expected. Emma walked up to Alexander in the boardroom after the meeting ended. He was looking out at the London skyline, the city sparkling in the evening light. Penny for your thoughts? Emma asked. Alexander turned and smiled. That smile that had once been so cold was now warm, genuine. I was thinking about the first night we met. When I asked you why you were working in that restaurant. I remember. You said I was relying on the kindness of strangers. That it was a terrible strategy. I was wrong, Alexander said, pulling her close. The kindness of strangers can change your life. It changed mine. I wasn't a stranger by the end of that night, Emma pointed out. No, Alexander agreed. By the end of that night, you were the woman who would save my life in more ways than one. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Emma's heart stopped. Alexander, you told me to ask you. You told me to ask you again in a year, he said, getting down on one knee right there in the empty boardroom. It's been exactly 1 year, Emma Miller. So I'm asking, will you marry me? Will you be my partner in everything? Will you keep noticing the details I miss and challenging me when I'm wrong and making me better than I ever thought I could be? Emma looked at this man who had tested her, fired her, doubted her, and ultimately believed in her more than anyone ever had. This man who had given her not just money or security, but respect and trust and love. Yes, she said, her voice strong and sure. Yes, I will. As Alexander slipped the ring on her finger, Emma thought about that scared waitress standing in the rain with nothing but 2 suitcases and a sick child. She thought about the 0 on the receipt. She thought about all the moments she almost gave up. And she realized that sometimes the worst moments of your life are actually doors opening. You just have to be brave enough to walk through them. Because your value isn't determined by what someone writes on a receipt or what job title you have or how much money is in your bank account. Your value is determined by your integrity, your courage, your ability to keep going when everything falls apart. Emma had always had value. It just took a 0 tip and a billionaire with trust issues for her to finally see it. And that, my friends, is the real lesson of this story. You are valuable exactly as you are. You just need someone, or sometimes you need yourself, to recognize it. If this story touched your heart, remember, every person you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind. Leave good tips. Notice the people who feel invisible. You never know when a small act of recognition could change